Hey guys, and welcome back to Woody's Power Barn. Today, we're going to be working on this Cub Cadet 1250 that I have. I grew up with these things as a kid. I had quite a few of them growing up, and I have my other one over there. I bought this one mainly for the snowblower that I took off outside, but then I realized that I could really use another one around the property here. It runs, it sat for a while, it doesn't want to idle, so I'm pretty sure the carburetor needs gone through. And also the mice got into the engine, and well, I'll show you all that later, but it needs a little help, but I think it's going to be a really good running machine. So I'll show you guys around, see what we're working with, then we'll go ahead and get to work. So without further ado, let's get to work. So here's our Cub Cadet 1250. Here's the side of the engine. We're going to be putting a coil on it, a condenser, plug wire, because it's broken right there. Did have a good chewy, there it is. A nice chewed spot. Wonder why. Anyway, this is probably why right here. Some mouse infestation. Can you get hennavirus from that? Or what's that mouse virus called?
I don't know.
I don't either. Anyway, more in the fan back here, so I'm probably going to be pulling all the engine tins off to clean it out to make sure, because that's your cooling. Your fan here sucks air and blows it across the engine to cool it. So we're going to be putting a new ignition on it, even though it runs. Points are in here, going to be putting them on, you'll see. The carburetor is behind, this is the air cleaner, obviously the carburetor is behind there. But one thing I noticed when I was kind of playing with it is, since this is carburetor, this is the throttle on the top of the carburetor, and this is the governor rod that goes in the engine. So I realized that it really wanted to run really fast all the time. This should return. The engine's in idle right now, and this is sticking wherever it wants to. I think when it's running, the weight spin, it does kind of pull it back, but it should definitely return on its own. So I don't know if we need a spring or something there. And even, you know, we're in idle, I'll rev it up. It'll rev up fine. Push it down. And it sticks. So that definitely needs to be addressed before the engine blows up. Fuel tank is plastic, which is great. Looks good inside. The dipstick shows really clean oil. I'm going to end up changing this anyway, just so I know when it was last done, because I'm going to be using this machine every week cutting grass with it. Other than that, it's really straight. It needs a paint job for sure, and we need to ditch these homemade weights because they're uglier than sin. No real major oil leaks on the rear of it. I don't know why there's a piece of ready rod shoved in between there, but okay, to each their own. Needs some big, meaty, aggressive bar tires though. I do know that. And front fenders like mine, because I think they look nice. But I think I'm going to get this air cleaner, get all the ignition stuff ripped off of it, and then just keep shredding it to get all the tins off, because we're going to have to pull the gas tank off. That's a shield. Probably pull the muffler shield off and all that stuff, just to make sure there's no chance for a fire in it. So I might do a little time lapse of that. Hope you guys enjoy it. Oh yeah. Look at that. Do we have nuts? Oh no, we got cat food. Oh yeah. That'd be great. So, air cleaner looks pretty good. Part of me is wondering if they've had carburetor troubles for a long time. because these screws, I mean, that looks like it's been taken out maybe 100, maybe 200 times. I don't know. Looks relatively clean. We have double clampage on the fuel line. So, oh, and it's still loose. That's awesome. Sometimes if you don't know what you're doing, go get one of your buddies, because it's more annoying to fix mistakes. Oh, anyway, why doesn't the governor work correctly? Because there is a return spring on it. But as you can see, it's not doing anything. I wonder if they got it too long. Yeah, I don't know. The good part is that since I have my other one, which is also a 1250, I can look at that to figure out how it's supposed to be. Because mine runs great, it just has a ton of blow-by. And it needs an engine rebuild. Stay tuned. But I think I'm just gonna get this carburetor off of here, throw it on the bench, keep just ripping stuff off to get the engine totally exposed. And once everything's ripped down, then I can assess the damage, go buy a bunch of stuff, and then fix it. Don't do this. This is wrong.
Number one garage cat. Mechanic Gary. He is approximately 2 years old. And he...
down about as far as I want it to go. And see, there was stuff packed in the cylinder head. That's one chunk that I took out of it. But in order to get this cover off, I basically have to pull the engine out, which I'm not gonna do because I look down in here, I don't see anything. Not worried about it. But as you can see, I got the exhaust and I shoved a sock in the carburetor and threw a little tape around it. I think I'm just gonna pressure wash the absolute crap out of this thing. I pulled this center cover off and you can see how dirty that hydrostat. That should be yellow and it's black. There's small ports in here on the top of these valves that allow the pressure to bleed off so you can push it if you have to. But I think I'm just gonna roll this out into the grass and power wash it. It'll clean up a lot nicer and I can do the hood and everything else at the same time. So let's get to it. Alright guys, we got this thing all power washed and cleaned up. Cleaned up surprisingly well. I'm honestly surprised at how nice this thing is inside. so we can start putting the shields and everything back on, but then I noticed one thing. I don't know if you can see it. Down in here, these engine mounts. They're all pushed out of the bottom side, and they're all completely garbage. It's a little better view. That's the engine mount. Luckily, I don't throw anything away. So I have 4 new ones from one of the other lawnmowers that I've taken apart. You can see how thick that bushing should be. Yeah, that's what they should look like, and they don't. So we're gonna go ahead and put these in first before we do anything else, and then probably rebuild the carburetor, get that on. I got the new points, our Kohler points, breaker, whatever. New plug, carb kit, which really isn't much. All it is a needle, gasket, pin, seat, and the bowl gasket. Spark plug. Start getting this thing all back together. All the shields cleaned up. They're white again. That's cool. And I also went along and cleaned all these other ones up. So we'll go ahead. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do this yet. I might actually just hook my cherry picker onto it and pull it up a little bit just so I can sneak them mounts on and get the new ones in. So, all right, let's get to it. Old versus new. And I believe these are actually an updated version because they're a much harder plastic, and I believe, or rubber, sorry. Much harder rubber, and I believe these are oil resistant where these are not, because these are a lot more squishy. So I think the oil gets into the rubber pores on these and just basically ruins them. Put these in. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and rip into this carburetor. I kind of just want to get it done and out of the way. I don't know how bad this is gonna be. I have no idea how long this thing sat. It did run, but it wouldn't idle. Yeah, pretty clean. Not really anything in there that I'd be concerned about. And that would leaked a little bit. Pretty crusty. Yeah, so I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see that. But this emulsion tube, I think that's what this is. Oh, this is your high-speed fuel jet. These little holes up here are plugged with gunk. So we get all those blowing clean out. Sound's not coming out. We'll do our best to try to just blow a bunch of carb cleaner in there and get that washed through. So, get those cleaned up and get it put back together. We're gonna move on to getting these points put in. This doesn't have to be done because it obviously has spark since it runs, but I'm just gonna put them in because who knows when the last time they were done. Definitely looking a little bit burnt, but I don't think it's anything too terrible. So we'll go ahead and pop these off quick. If there's anybody here that isn't exactly sure how points works, a points ignition system, so this little rod here inside the engine on the camshaft, there's a lobe that pushes this little rod in and out. In turn, that opens up your breaker contacts on your points. I can't get a very good shot of them. There's two contacts in here, and that's what makes your spark. This is a power wire going to, I think it's the negative side of the coil, and this supplies power in here. Breaking that gap makes a spark, which then sends it back to the coil, thus to the plug. A lot of times these contacts get burnt up and it doesn't allow it to make a good spark in there. Usually you want to set the gap between these when this plunger is out on the stroke to around 19 thousandths, give or take a couple. So we'll go ahead and get these put in quick. So we're going to adjust these. We're going to roll the engine over until the points are fully open. It's pretty easy to tell when that is, if you can get the engine to turn over. It's right there. These contacts are open. Little hint, a business card is almost 19 thousandths thick, so you can just go ahead and use one of these. This is your adjustment screw. It moves that upper contact into place. Set a card in there, let it close on it. I think that's just a little bit too loose. A little too tight. That's about pretty good. I don't think I want to mess with them much more than that. And it's always good practice to close the contacts and then just run your card through there. Kind of takes the oils and everything off of the contacts so they don't burn up right away. There we go. Points are done. All right, so I think we're about ready to start getting all the shields back on and in place. Everything's laid out here, cleaned up and ready to go. Big mess of nut and bolts. So I think I'm gonna set you guys up in the tripod and just get to work. Alright guys, got this thing pretty much all back together. Hood's on. I ordered an air cleaner, but it wasn't the right one, so I put the old one back in there. I'll have to order another one, but this one's clean. I just rather put it on all new. All the tins are on. Had some trouble with the screws since about every screw is wrong, so I kind of had to find some to mix and match to get it to work. All the wiring is tied up. Everything looks really good. So let's see if this thing will fire up for us before, well, it's pretty much all assembled, but before it even gets any further. She's a runner. Yeah, that thing runs pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and get the side shields on. The carburetor needs a little more tuning, obviously, but I think I want to get it warmed up and get a load on it before I really start messing with that. Get the wheel weights off so I can put air in the tires because they're completely flat, but they're hard and old enough that they hold up. And then this is the deck off that one, so instead of rebuilding the other deck that came with this, I'm just going to clean this one up, sharpen the blades, wash it up good, and put it on this one since I know that's a good deck and all the bearings are good. So let's get to that. Well, here it is all cleaned up and assembled. I got the deck washed up and the blades sharpened. Side shields are on. Turned out pretty nice. I did go ahead and take these extra, there's springs back of this seat for extra weight. I don't weigh 400 pounds, so I don't need 400 pounds of spring force back here. And then I bent the seat back up just by kneeling on it right here and pulling back with all my weight to blow out my lower back. And straighten that out for a little more ergonomical ride. But cleaned up really nice. I think we should go see how it cuts. Well guys, I think we're gonna call that a wrap right there. This thing runs really good, cuts really good. Don't really have any complaints out of a cheap lawnmower that I didn't really even want in the first place. So I guess the next thing is get snowblower working, but there's a lot of grass to cut before then. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. This is a really fun project, and this is a project that anybody can do in their home garage. These Cub Cadets are relatively cheap to pick up, and they're really fun to work on, and they have a lot of different uses. Cars don't know how to be quiet. Anyway, thanks for watching again. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Alright guys, see you next time.